Hi, Chris Johnson, CEO of the Urban Taskforce. I just want to talk about three recent publications that have come to me about cities. And they relate to a big trend I think the world is going through to focus on cities. The first of these is one that is produced by the United Nations called The City We Need. This is in essence a manifesto for how we can actually develop a better form of urban development across the world. There is a website, www.worldurbancampaign.org, that picks up the issues in relation to this. But the key issues that they say in this document that I just want to mention are a whole chapter on the city we need towards a new urban paradigm. And what they say is this: the world is at a crossroads. In the next few decades, urban dwellers will not only double in number, accounting for nearly 3/4 of the world population, but more than 60% of the built environment needed to accommodate these new urban dwellers has yet to be built. So the big challenge is, how do we build this urban environment and where do we build it? In Australia, there's a movement in this regard produced by the Council of Capital City Lord Mayors, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney. That's this document called Smart Growth. And Smart Growth looks in great detail at Australian cities and how we can develop. If you look at the contents page, for instance, you will see the emergence of smart growth, the smart growth for Australian cities, outcomes and benefits, pathways to achieving smart growth. So this is a very detailed look at how this could work in Australia's context. But I think it's important to look on page 8, I think it is, at the importance of Australian cities to our nation's future, where there's this very interesting diagram of Australia and its capital cities. And what it shows is how Perth grew by 1,200 people per week, Sydney increased by 61,000 people in 2011-12, Melbourne had the largest yearly growth of 77,000 people. So clearly big growth is happening. And you can summarise smart growth within this document on page 16 and 17. There's a brief discussion about creating more productive urban forms, equitable distribution of costs, avoiding urban sprawl. And I think that's an issue I want to come back to in the next book I want to refer to. This is a book called A Country of Cities, recently published and written by an American architect and professor of real estate called Vishaan Chakrabarti. And Vishaan was in Sydney recently talking about the importance of urban issues. He used diagrams like this one on page 22, looking at the different forms that density can take. So it looks at a street block approach, it looks at individual towers, and how we can actually produce an interesting approach to cities. But the one I want to focus on is, I think, the big dilemma the world has got to look at. And that is on page 100 and 101. There is a picture of suburban sprawl, as he defines it, balanced with a compact city. And so his argument is that with or without new green technologies, suburban and ex-urban development is less sustainable than compact cities. So he builds a particular thesis in this document for the value of compact cities and the value of density. He has some very interesting illustrations on page 149 of ways to infill within existing cities, so that you can see just how new buildings can be built in existing cities. And all of this is based on a principle that we need metro systems, we need public transport systems, but they only work with the right density. So 3 books, 3 publications that have really opened up big issues about the future of cities in the world.